What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own fantasy football huddle. As always, I'm your host, Dallas Clark, and let's get started. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing those waiver wire pickups that you might even be able to play in your flex this week. Those players are the ones we like to call flex appeal players. They're real flexy when you're looking at them in the waiver wire. We're going to not waste any time today. Of course, you're going to want to roll them up, smoke them if you got them, fill up your cup, roll something up, and let's get right into the waiver wire news. Obviously, we're going to be looking at Tank Dell and Devon Achane as two top waiver wire priorities, especially if you need some help at your wide receiver depth, at your wide receiver position, at your running back position. Devon Achane, this was finally the game that everybody was waiting for that hyped up Devon Achane this season, this offseason. And he really performed even with Raheem Mostert scoring 43 non-PPR points this week. And then Tank Dell has a stranglehold on this offense. We've talked about him before, big head and all. Nathaniel Tank Dell should already be rostered in your league, and if he's not, get on it before those other idiots figure out what's going on. Moving on into the pass catchers, like we always typically like to start with, we're going to be starting with CJ Stroud from the Houston Texans. He's rostered in 11.2% of leagues, so he's going to be available in most leagues. He's the first player in NFL history to have 900 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions through the first 3 games. He's got 20 or more points in the last 2 games straight. You should seriously be considering him on your fantasy bench as well as a starter for real, especially looking at Joe Burrow and other quarterbacks playing like absolute dumpster fires this year. CJ Stroud has been consistent enough in the first 2 weeks that you can at least consider him over some of these starting quarterbacks. Another quarterback this week that has flex appeal is going to be Jameis Winston, who's rostered in 0.1% of leagues. He averaged 18.5 points per game as a starter last year. He's known for his deep passing ability. He's got a slew of weapons, especially at the wide receiver here on this New Orleans Saints offense. They're getting Alvin Kamara back this week, and you're looking at it being a revenge game against the Buccaneers, his former team. I think Jameis Winston's definitely going to show out this week, and if you're in a quarterback pinch, Jameis Winston might just be the way to go. Moving on to those that run the ball, run the damn ball, the running backs, probably the most valuable position in the NFL in fantasy football, because there's so few of them that have been consistently good. And even those that are supposed to be good, like Derrick Henry, have had some pretty trash weeks. I'm looking at Ezekiel Elliott from the New England Patriots this week. New England is averaging 29 rushes per game. Their offensive line is an 11th, top 10 ranked offensive line in run blocking this season. The Cowboys, who they're playing this week, is where Ezekiel Elliott came from. If you don't know, you must have just come from under the rock you've lived in for the last 10 years. But the Cowboys did allow 19.5 PPR points to James Conner last week, and I told you to sit James Conner, so I was wrong on that. I did not think that the Cowboys defense, after what they showed in the first 2 weeks, would allow James Conner to do that. But I think Ezekiel Elliott on the revenge game, it definitely sounds good. I'm starting him this week in my flex position. Roshan Johnson from the Chicago Bears also, his time has been coming, and now's the time to snag him up before you don't have that chance anymore. Deontay Foreman was a healthy scratch the last 2 weeks. Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson, they split it about 50-50 carries this week. Chicago's been looking for a spark, and before you know it, they're going to be trying new things, and Roshan Johnson could be the leading running back in this committee by the end of the season. Moving on to some of the pass catchers, looking in for the Los Angeles Chargers with Mike Williams taking that knee injury. Of course, Quentin Johnston would be a good addition, but I like Joshua Palmer's more. Mike Williams is out for the year, and Josh Palmer played 84% of the snaps after Mike Williams left. He's got some really big play ability, and he led the Chargers last year. Let's not forget that. With 72 receptions last season, he had caught the most passes of all Chargers wide receivers last year, so do not sneeze at Joshua Palmer. Another person we're going to be looking at is going to be DJ Chark, rostered in 43.2% of leagues, had a fantastic game last week, coming off of 11 targets or 11 receptions. I think it's just targets though. And he performed really well. And he has an extremely favorable matchup this week against the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm going to keep DJ Chark on my team. If he's on the waiver wire and I need a flex, I need a spark, I'm going to grab him off the waiver and start him this week Now, tight ends are going to be fairly simple and easy. I've given you 3 waiver wire pickups over these first 3 weeks of the season. Going into week 4 now, we're definitely going to be looking at the same 3. Jake Ferguson from the Dallas Cowboys, Luke Musgrave from the Green Bay Packers, as well as Sam Laporta, if he's available, from the Detroit Lions, would probably be my preferred of the other 2 options. But Luke Musgrave, Jake Ferguson are going to be great additions to your team, especially if you're struggling at tight end, which most of you are. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to today's episode. Don't forget to check out Wednesday's live AFC South Smack Talk on the Let's Talk Sports YouTube page, as well as my own live episode on Sunday mornings, 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, where we give you that last-minute advice, that injury news, those bets, all that good stuff. So tune in to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's NFL Kickoff. Thank y'all for tuning in to this episode today. Keep your chin up, attitude down. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Bye.